I think the map is going to be Mirage.
Possibly. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It's certainly a map that Astralis don't mind playing. I think I'm really also interested to see not just how well Astralis do, but also, I guess, how the stylistic matchup turns out to be. As we do jump into the pistol, we know that Astralis themselves are almost a nice hybrid between a tactical team and a very fast, loose style. They're almost the best of both worlds. So imagine taking some parts of Na'Vi and mixing with some parts of Fnatic and merging it into this Danish team that has so many key, strong individuals in their lineup. So this is a great match for me.
Yeah, and indeed Mirage will be the map here. I feel like that does, a little bit favour Astralis here, but we'll have to wait and see how it turns out for eFrag. They are on their pistol round, so they will be able to dictate the pace of the game here from the start, which will be nice for them. Get some, perhaps, early confidence going on in their way if they pick this pistol round up. We'll have to see how it turns out. Xyp9x is going to find the first battle, and actually the first kill as well, up against Punisher, who does go down as a result of that.
Yeah, really strange pistol round for me from an eFrag perspective. The Bulgarian team really just splitting up and not doing much of it. I mean, Punisher in the end went down and there was no one there to trade him, so complete loss of life. They're up against the stronger USPs. It was always going to be a hard fight. You can see now they have laid down that smoke in mid and they're getting wrecked as they try and take that control. Yeah,
that did look like it was going to be in a window smoke, but didn't actually land in the window there, so a little bit of an error there for eFrag, but they are going to lose a play. They do get one in response, Victor picking one up there for himself, but again, not necessarily the situation they would have wanted. They can't be trading in this disadvantaged position. They need to be able to pick up a couple of double kills or triple kills if they want to get back into this round, and at the moment Astralis are really not giving them anything. You can see Xyp9x here holding in the jungle, really not taking too many risks. He's going to go for a little bit of a shot across onto one of those eFrag players. We do see a trade coming across again. Karrigan picking up a kill with a grenade, and now 2 versus 3. The bomb not yet planted as well. 35 seconds on the board. eFrag really pressed for time, but we'll get that bomb down, and now you can see Astralis getting in there on towards the side, and absolutely no troubles at all retaking that one.
Yeah, I really love the pressure there from Astralis. I mean, they had the man advantage in the 4-on-3 situation, but you could see eFrag were trying to make their way in that broken round play there with only 3 members alive, that they were getting shot at from every direction. Even after the bomb was down, there was so much pressure, the players could feel that, and in the end they felt as though they had nowhere to move, and Astralis breathing down their necks did take them all down, got that defuse. Good start here on the CT side of the Mirage, the side on which is typically favoured given the current meta.
I'm going to see a force up coming out here from eFrag. Not necessarily surprising. The Tech 9 and armor coming out. A few smoke grenades as well, so perhaps an execute is on the cards here as well for them.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but we'll see whether this will be perhaps the good eFrag or the bad eFrag. We know their track record of buying into rounds, so I think they're just going to be perhaps trying to utilise the star power that they've got in the form of Victor to try and open up the round for them. He's actually trying to clear out mid. No battles yet to be found, though, so at least they are getting that territory, closing the distance between the CTs.
Yeah, the big grenade coming out there. A lot of damage across to eFrag already. Device has been dropped to 53, but the first kill is going to go to Victor, picking up Karrigan. But there is a trade out there. Xyp9x will pick up Punisher. Another trade in response. Victor with 2 kills for the round already. They've managed to retrieve a rifle as well. Make that 2 as NKL picks himself up 1. And the bomb is planted now on the B bomb site.
Yeah, they've actually done quite a good job here from Terra's perspective, because the CTs were so far away that by getting the bomb down that fast, they've bought themselves a few precious seconds in terms of waiting for that bomb to explode. But it's Astralis coming here. They're doing a fantastic job using their superior weaponry. They've got all but Bubble left to contend with, and as his position is now known, Device, the young star of this team who really has matured his personal skill, and I think that consistency that we're always looking for really started to, I guess, be on display in its entirety, its beautifulness in 2015. So it's great to see him continuing in that same vein.
Yeah, not too bad of a round there coming out for eFrag. Obviously, some things to take away from that. They almost actually got 4 of the players down. You could see 2 of those Astralis members very low after that retake. So it was quite close for eFrag. Unfortunately, they weren't able to close it out, but they're going to go for another force buy here. They obviously feel like they can get something out of this.
I'm sure they do. Yeah. It's certainly been their trend in the past. We'll see how well it works. But again, last time they did get the bomb down, which is a plus. Again, they got a few frags. Normally the key I look for is to get at least a minimum of 3 kills to really justify buying into the next round, because you know the CT's economy is hurt. But having only got 2 frags, I myself would have been a little bit hesitant to do so, but they're trying to make it work. Again, you can see the intent here is the same almost in the last 2 or 3 rounds. Take control of mid, but Astralis, they want to take that control themselves. You can see they are putting pressure. Spylet is forced to back off temporarily. Karrigan here nice and close.
He certainly is getting a pretty reasonable amount of control up towards mid. They don't know exactly that he's there, but Spy Leader does need to be careful that he doesn't peek his head just up over that little short ridge. dupreeh, though, in the meanwhile, will take down Spy Leader. Victor is there for the trade onto Karrigan, but he gets traded himself. dupreeh doing some great work from that window room.
That's right, he's turned it down into a 4-on-3 situation, and it's the remaining members of eFrag try and walk in cage and be absolutely locking it down like a fortress. In that instance, Bubble forced to retreat with only 4 points of health, and not much chance in this round, you'd have to say, despite having the bomb. If we look at the overlay, you can see that CTs, whilst they have rotated towards A at the moment, you can't help but feel they will try and backtrack momentarily and just make sure they're covering off all angles. It's almost a race at the moment. Can Bubble get into the B halls before Device spots him?
No.
Won't be the case. Looks as though Device should get that frag.
Nope, it's going to be Bubble there actually to pick that one up. So an opening here perhaps for Bubble. He's only on 4 HP, but 30 seconds to work with. Might be able to decide on the correct bomb site. Let's see if he goes towards A or B. At the moment he has mid, which is obviously going to give him both options, and Astralis on the B bomb site. So if he decides to go towards the A bomb site, gets that bomb down, maybe get into some sort of interesting position post-plant, there is the opportunity. But of course, Zipnix, you can see here, is covering off the connector, so this is going to be difficult. There is a grenade going up there as well from Bubble, and giving away his position. An easy frag in the end there for Zipnix.
Yeah, I think in that sort of situation, in the 1-on-2, obviously being on such low HP, limited, I guess, room to work with. I think that going for the plan and trying to come up with some sort of nifty hiding spot that no one's aware of in the site's always going to be a very tough ask. I think your best plan is perhaps just trying to get that frag, trying to catch one of the CTs out of position, turn it into a 1-on-1, and then in that situation anything can happen. But wasn't to be. Astralis continue on their merry way. I do like the fact that from an E-Frag perspective, the money on the CT side is still quite low. They're still getting the frags, but they're just not getting across the line.
Yeah, on this side of E-Frag, though, they have opted to go for that pistol armor buy, so really still trying to put the pressure onto Astralis, but at the moment, Astralis just holding very strong. You can see Device picking up that first frag of the round there with the AWP. And E-Frag trying to make their way in towards the B bomb site, but really not doing a whole lot just yet. Spy Leader has spotted out Dupree, but he will get taken out as a result of that. Zipnix does manage to pick up Victor as well. That's the star player for E-Frag down, and now only 2 up against the 5 here for Astralis. This is going to be a fairly easy closeout here, you'd have to say, for Astralis, as Zipnix picks up the final kill of the round.
Yeah, Zipnix, nice double there, but I think he's actually having a fantastic tournament to date. If I read my stats correctly, I do believe up in their previous match against Virtus Pro, I mean, he finished with a 1.67 rating for the match. He was the best player statistically in the server, and for a player that's traditionally been touted as a support player, there were periods during his tenure with the team, especially last year, where he was suggested that he was on the outer. Perhaps AZ was going to come in to replace him, but I think off the back of that, he's responded so well as a player. He's elevated his game, and it's nice to see him playing really well now.
Yeah, it's certainly doing a pretty good job here on this first map. 6-1 at the moment. Obviously, Astralis up 4 rounds as well, and this looks like it could be another one. Zipnix in a great spot to grab a good spray down, but not actually landing as many shots as he needed. Bubble will take him out. Device, though, is here stoic on that B-bomb site. Carrigan in as well for the backup to find a double kill. Bubble does manage to trade out Carrigan, but it won't be enough in this situation, as he's now found himself in a 1 versus 3, and Bubble, what can he do here? He's just going to try and find some kills with this deagle of his, but you can see Astralis, they're like a wolf pack, a prey, and that is going to be Bubble going down.
I really regret talking up Zipnix after watching that round, to be honest.
Well, I mean, he certainly didn't get what he
all
could have.
jokes aside, he missed, but I think more importantly, he would have got a lot of information for his team. Something that's great about Astralis is the fact that they're often so fast to rotate and support each other, particularly against an opponent in which they consider themselves better.
Yeah.
I think that because they're so confident, they're very fast and dynamic moving around the map, so those rotations are on point. So as soon as Zipnix went down, his teammates were there to support him in the side. Ultimately, Astralis won with relative ease.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good point that you make, actually, because obviously you could see as soon as he went down, there was already those 2 players on the B bomb site, so really no hope at all for E-Frag to get in there. It looks like they're setting up for an A take here, so the smoke grenade's raining in upon that A bomb site. Dupree in the sandwich, though, he's in a really nice spot to be able to find one. They actually haven't checked that. He's flashed out, but manages to find a kill through the flash, and he's going to get a second one as well. Hasn't been punished for it just yet either. He's still alive, finding a third and a fourth. That is crazy work there from Dupree, and E-Frag just crumbling on the offensive here.
And why not finish it off in style? Actually, it's a headshot through the wall, so
wow.
Fantastic job there by Dupree, but almost inexcusable for me the fact that his presence went undetected for long, hiding in the sandwich area there. As soon as he made those first shots, I think that he should have been alert to the presence, obviously with the sound cues that were given up, but I think perhaps they had their own worries given the fact they had a few flash grenades blow up in their face. Fantastic work by Dupree, voted or ranked the number 12th best player in the world last year. Has been renowned as a fantastic entry freighter, doing a great job there, but has struggled with consistency. That's always the key with him.
Yeah, but at the moment looking pretty consistent. 10-1 his scoreline. Obviously that last round helping out a little bit, and Astralis also looking quite consistent on their CT side, really not offering E-Frag much of a hope or even a sniff into any of these rounds at all.
Yeah, and it's confusing to me when I watch E-Frag in terms of their structure and their identity. They're certainly a team that we know really back themselves as individuals and like to take aim duels, but when you see all of a sudden a very slow-paced round such as that with a heavy execute onto a site with no information, you did see that the execute itself was quite disorientated in the sense that they weren't checking all their angles. Dupree was able to get away with murder, literally, in that instance, got 5 kills. That's quite terrible in that situation, but I think for E-Frag, you then see them go back to this sort of slow-paced style. It's very very confusing to me to watch them try and understand what they're trying to achieve. They are moving towards mid this round with at least 2 members. The other 3 are slowly making their way towards A, so perhaps trying to pincer the side, but Device shows no fear at all as he actually walks even closer towards the terrace using that orb, almost with shotgun prowess, as Victor does get the drop onto Carrigan, but Device, as we pointed out, was nearby, quickly gets the trade frag onto Spyler, and all of a sudden E-Frag with that last frag had this opening they were after.
Yeah, they actually have a really nice positioning there on Victor. Despite being on that 4 HP, he's going to be on the lurk, and you can see him picking up Zipnix there, a crucial frag, able to stop that rotate from the B bomb site. So now it's back to a 3 versus 2 situation. But as I say that, Dupree coming in on the A bomb site will find NKL from Firebox. He pops the flash out there as well, has spotted out Punisher, and Punisher has no idea where he is, but he turns around and picks up the kill. And Victor, in the meanwhile, did find Cage and B, the first round on the board for E-Frag.
Yeah, good late round execution there in terms of closing out that 2v2, but really sick play there from Dupree. I actually love the fact that he threw that flash and recognising that it would almost force any nearby enemies to turn around, actually jumped up and got that quick spot. So a great game sense there. Ultimately couldn't convert that frag, but you can see Astralis can obviously easily afford to buy into this round. I think they've actually got an AWP in the hands of one of their players, and without being able to see, I couldn't tell you, it is Device. The reason I couldn't say is because there are so many talented AWPers in this team actually. Device, Carrigan, Cajun, could have been any of the 3. All I knew is they had purchased one, but we'll see what he can do at the moment. You can see Astralis with their mid presence very early on.
Yeah, Device again holding a different angle with that AWP, so nice to see him changing those things up, and obviously E-Frag are going to need to be aware of that. Obviously playing reasonably slowly here, E-Frag just on a bit of a default setup, waiting to see perhaps if Astralis is going to push them. It won't be the case here, as they are just playing safely in their little defensive positions. Now the smokes are coming in towards mid. E-Frag have been putting a lot of pressure on towards mid with those smokes, and we'll see how it works out in this one.
Yeah, Device there. Oh, just steps back at the wrong timing. Can't quite connect, but as he steps in, does take down Spyler and then retreats to safety. Obviously, Mirage, lots of different angles with which to pick with that AWP. You can see him backing off all the way towards the B halls at the moment. And whilst Bubble is on alert here in A, might spot one out. We can see the bomb is making its way towards B. So potentially Device still has more work to do in this round. Victor, I think, just waiting for the opportunity to try and get that flank. But the smoke that was down in mid-con is now dissipated. So he exposes his back as he moves up short. Zipnix, I think, recognising the fact that he's there with those footsteps. And Victor almost caught him too well. He's trying to watch so many different angles. Good frame by Punisher, though. 2 on 4, still work to do.
Yeah, they are going to try and get in towards the B bomb site, but that flashbang was really nice coming out from that player on short, which was Zipnix. He does go down in the end, though, to NKL. But having said that, it is still a 3 versus 2 here. The bomb not yet planted either for E-Frag, and things looking very good for Astralis in this round, which is a little bit of a shame here for E-Frag. Their economy is going to be reset, and that is going to make the later stages of this half very difficult to come back into.
I think coming into this match, the uncertainty for me was how focused Astralis were going to be. I think on the paper, this matchup would be quite favourable for them, but I really like what I'm seeing from them at the moment. They seem really switched on. Those rotations are on point, and I like the way they're changing up their aggression and their passive play. This is a really important match for them to win. Whilst they've already played the 2 hardest opponents in the group in the forms of Envious and Virtus.pro and won both, this is a team that's actually coming out of a slump at the moment, or at least trying to. It's so important that they get that first place in the group and have that secure passage straight through the semi-finals. They can't afford to slip up in this match.
Alright, well, it certainly doesn't look like they're slipping up just yet. And E-Frag opting to go for another force buy here. You can see a couple of AKs, but the other 3 players on E-Frag going away with those pistols. Device will take down Bubble, and also being able to pick up Punisher there. NKL does respond onto Device, and actually there's a kill coming out for E-Frag again onto Spy Leader. So this is looking not too bad. But as I say that, Dupree will find Spy Leader in response, and it's a 3 versus 2. Victor in a nice position here. He's going to grab one, gets almost the spray down, but Dupree is there to close it out, and NKL does go down in the end to Cajun as well. So a pretty close round coming out there, but again, Astralis really didn't look like they were going to let E-Frag into that one.
There's just too much talent on the Danish lineup, to be honest. That's what you see when you're at the moment. There's, no matter who's in these 1v1s or 2v2 situations, you're almost always backing the Danish team. In that instance, it was Cajun B, and I think finishing off the great work that Device had done earlier on in the round, securing 2, nearly 3 AWP frags, and they're doing a fantastic job at the moment, each member in turn stepping up and making the frags when required.
Alright, an eco round coming out here for E-Frag, and they're just charging straight into mid-con, and they do a little bit of damage actually across to Carrigan. He's going to go down, Bubble on fire, picking that one up. Actually, Dupree was the one he took out. Spy Leader took down Carrigan, but that's a good couple of kills there for E-Frag. Unfortunately for them, though, they haven't been able to retrieve any of those rifles, and that's usually a crucial part of winning those eco rounds.
Oh, that was a massive HE grenade as well. Victor copping the full brunt of that as he caught that with his teeth down to 12 points of health. But you're right, that's a really key component of this round. The 2 frags are not meaningless, but they certainly hold a lot less value in that instance, given what you just said. You can see Device has found one, but he's on very low HP, so you can see he needs to be very careful given the position of the terrorist at the moment. And I like this play, actually backing off through the vent, round to CT spawn, heading off towards that ticket box to hit that range in play. Cajun takes his place, and should feast here as he does spot out the first, takes him down, and a couple more if he's a little bit more patient. In the end, Zipnix beats him to the punch.
Yeah, only one player left here for eFrag. That is Victor down on 12 HP, and he will go down very easily there to Device. So a pretty good anti-eco round for Astralis. I mean, they lose a couple of guns, but it shouldn't worry them too much. They have a huge amount of bank stacked up here. Obviously, having won 9 rounds and only losing that one does obviously allow you to look pretty good in that economy department.
Most certainly. They can afford to buy into this round, both Bubble and Victor. You can see at the top of the scoreboard at the moment, but 8 frags, really not much to write home about when you can see some of the fragging potential and output on that CT side. Again, the Terrorist quite split up to start this round, and really strangely, this time we see Spy Leader run into the A site. So again, this really confusing play coming out from the Terrorist, where you've got some members executing onto sites, but others still lurking behind at the top of mid and in B hall. So once I think Astralis recognise the fact that that pressure has been applied to the A site, they'll now rotate their forces over, and this is where eFrag have struggled in the past, but really confusing positioning here from eFrag.
The linchpin in this round, though, for eFrag is going to be Bubble. He's lurking around in mid. Might be able to come in the back of Connector and pick up a couple of easy kills. He actually grabs one there with a grenade, and Bubble is going to go down. Dupree and Device picking up a killer piece. Victor, the other player to go down for eFrag. That could have been an opening into that A site for eFrag, but unfortunately they weren't able to convert.
Well, just look out for a second, because NKO actually on the lurk here, pushed through those B halls, so perhaps that might be the opening. He's actually turned this now into a 2-on-2, and Zipnix realises that that flank, the dank flank, is a real thing in this instance. He's actually backing off mid, but keeping his eyes pinned on that window room in case NKL decided to push through. You can see, though, despite Zipnix's attention, NKL has actually opted to go by CT, and Dupree doing a good job of actually catching Punisher off guard. So in the end, the flanker now becomes the sole man left alive. He should be able to recover this bomb. Zipnix does have eyes on it at the moment, but the long range means that that angle is far too wide for him to have vantage view of the entire site. NKL gets that plant down, and as Dupree walks up, he should have connected with that shot. All of a sudden, NKL has a new lease on life in this instance, and good flash allows him to backtrack back into the CT spawn. Neither player has utility at this point, so Zipnix forced to rely on his strong aim. He's a fantastic clutch player. He's won 12 of his last 13 1-versus-1 situations. What can he do in this instance? You can see NKL has spotted him out. He still has plenty of HP to play with. He does tap the bomb. You can see the time now running away. He's almost just trying to entice NK out, but I think the bold player there from the Bulgarian, not willing to step, playing mind games there with the Danish player, but in the end, Zipnix wins another 1-versus-1. He adds another to his tally, 12 of his last 13, and Astralis come up clutch.
Yeah, you can, I mean, I guess you can certainly see the disparity in talent coming across there from Astralis to eFrag. I think NKL did a pretty reasonable job in the end, actually, but Astralis just able to get that one in the end.
You're right, he made something of it, but to be fair, that round should have been well and truly done when Dupree stepped up there from T-Ramp, or Pit, as some people refer to it. Unfortunately, wasn't his finest moment. Fortunately for him, I guess, when he looks back at this, potentially, our point of view was on the terrace, so it wasn't as bad. We only got to see the opposing point of view.
Yeah. All right, well, anyway, eFrag going to have a reasonable buy coming into this one. Not a huge amount of utilities to work with, but they have a reasonable amount of smokes. Might be able to execute onto a side. At the moment, though, just playing default, waiting that timer down a little bit.
You can see that smoke getting laid down the underpass from CT. That's actually a really aggressive smoke. That would stall the progress of any terrorist to an underpass, because there would be no way in any sort of imagination would they be willing to push through that into mid with so many choke points to potentially contend with as they walked out of that smoke and emerged into the daylight. At the moment, though, it's all to no avail as the terrorists are actually really, really defensive at the top of mid, and despite having some strong individuals such as Victor in this instance, they're not really putting into much use when he's back in T-spawn still with a minute left.
You can see that mid control coming out once again for eFrag. The smoke's proving a strong force for them at the moment, at least. Seeing if they can get anything done here. 55 seconds left on the clock. It looks like they're going to try and go for an A split. NKL will find Dupree in the T-stairs area. Spy Leader will pick up Carrigan as well, but there's a double kill in response coming out for Astralis. Bubble, though, does manage to respond. It's Cajun B going down a 3-versus-2 situation. As I say that, though, Zipnix is going to find a kill for himself. Bubble and Punisher on that A-bomb side up against Zipnix now, and he's going to actually go down there as well. Punisher picking up the second round there for eFrag.
Good work. You can see at the moment, I mean, the fragging disparity between the teams is, it leaves a lot to be said, doesn't it? I think Bubble and Victor, they're the ones who are really starting to pull away a little bit from their teammates. Everyone else struggling a little bit. I think it's really important, though, for eFrag. I mean, they've obviously just won the second round here. They need, it goes without saying, they need to win this round. Otherwise, their economy will be broke for almost the remainder of this first half here. So this is almost do or die from an eFrag perspective. Otherwise, they could be an even greater deficit going into that second half. They have already taken control of Wagon. Victor, they're posted up in mid, keeping a close eye on things. Spyler, a little bit more aggression from him in underpass this round. And he should soon spot out a CT. It looks as though one of the CTs is actually just goblining or hiding there in the mid-con.
Yeah, but he has managed to get himself into an interesting position. No, giving away that with that smoke grenade that he's going to throw there into the connector. Just waiting down the timer a little bit. Device, though, oh, I thought he was going to fire a few shots off there onto Spy Leader, but in the end, it is Spy Leader to pick up Carrigan, and now he needs to be careful as he enters this mid-con, because obviously we can see Carrigan there lurking around. NKL, though, on the entry is going to find Cajun, and there's a few kills going in the favor of eFrag there. It's now a 1 versus 4, and surely from this point, they will be able to pick up their third round. Zipnix, it looks like he's going to go for this almost.
Yeah, really good execution there in mid. That was the key thing that set it up for me. I think off the back of that strength, they got that early frag onto Carrigan, the EM leader of Team Astralis, and I think almost just worked the situation. Did a great job of really advancing from that point onwards without putting themselves in too much risk. You commented on the fact that Device was so close. You could see him almost leering over that smoky mid-con, trying to get a vantage point onto the terrorists there at the bottom of mid, but couldn't quite make it work. And in the end, eFrag get their second round in a row. The first time in this match in which they've been able to boast such a feat. And like we said, that was so important from their economy. And Astralis here, despite having won 10 rounds in this half, they're now forced in a situation where they have to eke over the last round.
Yeah, this is the first time that Astralis is actually going to be forced to eco, and obviously eFrag going to try and take advantage of that Spy Leader you can see with the Mac 10. They're taking that one away. Victor just charging straight out into the mid there with Spy Leader. They will pick up that first kill onto Device, who was in the window. And a good start already into this round for eFrag. They've got that mid control and they've got that first pick.
Yeah, with not much in the way of investment, it was always going to be really tough here for Astralis. Some teams often opt in these situations from a CT perspective to try and stack aside or perhaps have some sort of aggression, some sort of pack mentality, but at the moment with Astralis splitting up across the board, trying to at least back themselves to win those 1v1 duels, it wasn't to be the case as they've already lost two of their teammates, and Spy Leader looking to extend that lead even further in this round. He's done that, he's grabbed the third, Victor with the fourth, and all to do for Cajun. He has got a Mac 10. Can be quite menacing sometimes, but probably not in this situation. Yeah,
if he can pick up Victor here, it might be a pretty reasonable eco round for Astralis. See if Victor is going to be able to do anything about it. He does manage to take the duel, so this is a little dangerous here for eFrag, but in the end it is Victor to close that one out.
Victor's aiming style is something really unique to me. I've watched a lot of him play, especially in the recent Counterpit League and in the Ace of Predator Masters, and whilst he's an incredibly talented player, it's not as though he's just shooting heads all the time. It's not this sort of tapping mentality. He just has a really unique spray pattern and does a fantastic job in terms of the sort of mid to back end of his sprays in terms of getting the crosshair on the heads of the enemy. Great spray control and doing a good job at the moment for his team, but they desperately need this last round to have any sort of momentum going into the second half. Yeah,
they certainly do. I mean, a 10-5 scoreline wouldn't necessarily be too awful here for the eFrag guys, but 11-4, you're starting to lean a little bit more in the favour of Astralis. So, as you mentioned, a pretty important round coming out here for eFrag. Not necessarily as important for Astralis, but here we go. Punisher will find a kill there onto Carrigan. Now he's going to go for the challenge onto Zipnix, but Zipnix will close that one out. So, in the end, a trade in neither team's favour necessarily, but eFrag probably will be reasonably happy with that, opening up the bomb sites a little bit.
I think normally, with the 1v1 trade, you'd almost certainly favour the terrorists in that instance from that point onwards, with the CTs forced to cover more choke points with less players. In this matchup, though, I think 1-for-1 trades favour Astralis, because I just certainly back them when it gets down to that broken play, the 2-on-2, the 3-on-3 situations, given the talent of their individuals. Dupree, as an example, just picks up two. A sick little two-piece feed there for Dupree, looking to get a third perhaps, but maybe Cajun might beat him to the party. As it is, all of a sudden, eFrag have only one surviving member. Bubble in a 1-on-4.
Yeah, he doesn't have the bomb either, and he's just getting slowly collapsed upon by Astralis. There you go, Device picking up that final kill, and 11-4, the first half scoreline in the favour of Astralis. A good half coming out from them on their CT side, but now need to back it up on that pistol round.
Yeah, great half there from Dupree if you look at the scoreboard, finishing with 19 frags, 6 assists in the end, so he was contributing in all different facets of the game in that instance, and fantastic to see him on point. I think he and Device are certainly the 1-2 punch in this team, and I think certainly a lot of expectations coming to this event from the public placed on these guys. They haven't had the best of run recently, whilst I did acknowledge their second place at the ESL Barcelona event. They bombed out, unfortunately, in a group of death at the Star Series finals in the DreamHack Leipzig. They didn't have the best of form, so I think these guys are really happy at the moment with the way they're playing in this competition so far today, in the 2.5 maps with which we've seen of them. You can see they're very slow to start off this round, though. Yeah, no utilities brought up there by Astralis, so they're relying purely on their aim. Another actually on
the EFrag guys, they've all picked up armor as well. So interesting strategies coming out on the pistol round here. At the moment, favoring EFrag though. They've got that 2 versus 4 situation. Victor does manage to pick up Dupree there, and now going to go for the duel against Cajun. He'll win that one as well. So the pistol round importantly picked up here for EFrag, giving them an opening into the second half, getting them, I guess, that little bit of momentum heading in towards it.
All right, now we're talking. This is better from EFrag here, getting the second half pistol. I will say, whilst that's really impressive for them to see, I'm probably never ever confident in terms of EFrag being able to mount such a fantastic comeback in terms of their money management. You're always left in a situation where you don't know whether they'll be able to actually close out hearts with which they should. Certainly recently we've seen them lose some maps in horrible fashion, but I think at the moment, every round the better for the guys as they start to build up their confidence. They are playing with Punisher instead of Dreamer, and as Sipnik spots out the head there, that's a lot of information that EFrag will be gathering with the fact that there is presence in the B halls, but crucially the bomb's still back in T-Spawn at the moment, so someone hasn't done their job. It's been left behind.
No, well, it's Astralis here, just on the force up, seeing if they can get any quick picks here and maybe retrieve a rifle or something like that. This is the first kill going over to Carrigan with the Deagle there onto Spy Leader. They have some openings on towards the A-bomb side, especially considering Dupree will find Bubble. There is a response though from EFrag. NKL will take down Carrigan. It doesn't really take too much damage for his troubles either, so we'll see if the guys from EFrag can hold on to this A-bomb site. The rotate coming across.
Really, really worrying position here for the CTs with Dupree there in that jungle. You can see at the moment he's almost just distracting Victor, not committing to the fight. In the end, he does take him down, but he was serving just as good of a purpose just by keeping him busy. And in the end, the 7-bullet Deedle spray, not rewarded for the fact that the crosshair was on him the entire time, but dearie me, the CT should have capitalized in that instance and punished him, but pun not intended. Dupree there in that instance, lucky to get away with murder. I think, though, that's probably justifiable given the fact that he whiffed a little bit in the first half. Let's recall that spray there at T-Ramp in the ace site, so I think he'll be saying that that's probably due justice.
Yeah. Alrighty, so a little disappointing there for EFrag not being able to close out that anti-eco, but of course they have forced up here, and they're going to try and do back to Astralis what was done to them. Whether or not that will be the case is an important part now for EFrag. Obviously, they don't have a huge amount of rounds to play with, and Astralis looking keen to close this one out as soon as possible. Dupree has lost a fair amount of HP, but he'll get out alive. And they're going to smoke off the apartment area, and looks like they're going to rotate across towards A.
Yeah, at the moment, I think it's just that sole member in shadow there at the A site, so NKL has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, but he does have armor and a 5.7, so that's an extremely dangerous weapon, particularly with a fast rate of fire and the 20 bullets, and spots out Cajun there, and I'm not sure why Cajun didn't hear those footsteps as he landed on the ground, but in the end, good work there by Device having the peace of mind to check in shadows. It makes ultimately capitalized off the back of that information fed to him. You can see the frags going the way of the Danish team at the moment. Victor, the last member left alive, a nice headshot there from Bubble along the way, but all of a sudden his teammate now has to clutch this situation and spots that one member there up on the balcony. Cajun gets the job done from long range using that 8 out of full effect. 13-5, Astralis pulling away.
Alright, surely we're going to see an eco coming out here from EFrag. It seems like that is going to be the case. Just a couple of pistols being invested in there, which is good to see. So they're going to allow Astralis to get to that 14-round mark and then see what they can do from there.
That's right, they're heading out of spawn now. Astralis actually sending 3 members, make a fall towards that A site very early on. So I think off the back of keeping those SMGs, perhaps trying to bring a little bit more aggression into this round and harness the potential money bonus that those SMGs can provide. Obviously the $600 have could be coming their way. Could they get that SMG in the face of these CTs? And Carrigan with an SMG of his own actually gets a lot of information as the CTs start swarming up mid. So what can he do? He does get the first, but in the end that's all he can manage. So he'll have to make do at least until the next round. Device trying to come to his aid, but got to the party a little bit late. It's not going to matter in the sense of the overall round. This will certainly be going Astralis' way, but Bubble here, trying to perhaps have the last laugh in this round. Does take down Dupree, but that's all we hear from him laughing-wise until he starts choking there as he dies, literally at the top of mid.
Well, that was a little bit more, but now EFrag are going to be able to invest reasonably well into this round. They've got the smokes that they're going to need, but really short of that, no Molotovs. And only a couple of flashbangs to work with as well. So just looking a little bit short on those utilities. Astralis, of course, looking fantastic in their buy. Although Device still sticking with that UMP.
That's right, you can see Dupree actually trying to make some presence and distraction at the top of mid here at the moment, but it's all a ruse as they do actually execute onto that A side of Astralis, and Zipnix has found that first frame, making it a double, so the support player at the moment is doing absolutely ham for this team, picks up a triple for himself, and really they've now got Or at least they had control of the A bomb site, but I think it was the back of Dupree's supreme positioning here. That bomb actually falling back through T-Spawn on its way back towards that B side, which I think Dupree recognises now is empty. He's actually just trying to potentially try and catch any of the CTs off guard now, as they inevitably will try and rotate back through the window room on their way to B side after that bomb is momentarily planted. And surprised to see almost the CTs holding their own in this instance. They both, I guess, forced the issue here and gambling on the bomb, in fact, going to the A side. You can see Punisher there at the ticket box and bobble there in mid-com, but it's not to be. Surely they'll now figure that out.
Yeah, Dupree in a fantastic position here. Might actually get both the kills if he peeks correctly, and he is going to look in the right direction. Punisher now going to be in a little bit of trouble. Dupree will be there to close out both of them. And Astralis now sitting on 15 rounds.
I mentioned before that Astralis' playstyle was almost a mixed hybrid between the very slow tactical style of Luminosity / Na'Vi and the fast looser style of the Envious Fnatic. I think that's actually a really, really scary, daunting prospect, particularly when you're a team trying to make a comeback against them. Because from an E-Frag perspective, there's just so much that you have to almost protect against. You don't know what to expect from them, as opposed to perhaps a team that has one playstyle with which they're more comfortable. So at the moment, E-Frag are really up against it, 10 match points, and not much of a buy to really defend with.
Yeah, certainly not looking too good for them here. Astralis, though, just being held off by that smoke for the moment on the A-bomb site. They do have a player in towards mid. That's Carrigan getting reasonably close to the connector. So the A split looking like it's going to be on the cards here for Astralis. And it's going to be on to NKL to try and find something. But he's not going to be able to do it as Cajun takes his head off. And Carrigan will spot out the player on short. That's Victor. He's going down as well. And this player in jungle does manage to get a double kill. That's Bubble, actually. But he goes down to Carrigan. Device in the meanwhile did find Punisher, and now Spy Leader in a 1 versus 3. He's going to try and find what he can, but it's not going to be enough there. Astralis closing out the map 16-5. Probably around the scoreline that you would have expected, right?
I'm not sure about the scoreline. I think it was always going to be quite easy for Astralis. I think regardless of even the fact if E-Frag got a few rounds at the end as a consolation prize, the scoreline would have reflected the match